The International Cricket Council is doing its bit to address inequality in prize money at its tournaments. Women will now receive equal prize money for finishing in similar positions at comparable events. The winners and runners-up at the ICC Women's T20 World Cup in 2020 and 2023 received 18 million rand and 9 million rand respectively, which was 5 times the amount offered in 2018. The prize money for the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup in 2022 rose to 63 million rand from the 36 million rand awarded for winning the 2017 edition in England. Joining me now to speak on this development is Proteas Women's wicketkeeper and the recently crowned SA Fans Player of the Year at the Cricket South Africa Awards, Sinalo Jafta. She's with me in studio, and I'm also joined on Zoom by England's 1993 World Cup winning captain, Karen Smithies. A very good morning to you, lady. Thank you so much for your time. Sinalo, I'm going to start with you. You know what it's like to get to a World Cup final now. Yeah. Very few South African cricketers, past and present, can actually say that. And now the ICC is saying, right, it's time to award you accordingly. Let there not be any gender inequality in terms of money, which is a conversation we're having in all the sport, led largely by football at the moment. I mean, just your thoughts on finally getting to, at the same table with the men.
Firstly, good morning. From an ICC perspective, they've been saying for a number of years that they want to bridge that gap of inequality. And I mean, to get these news a couple of days ago for us as a team was probably like the best push you can give an athlete, because now they don't see any difference. They're literally on the same scope. Yeah.
Karen, there's always been a conversation by detractors of the women's game, be it cricket, football or rugby, that women's sport doesn't make as much money as the men's sport because women's sport isn't as entertaining as the men's sport. You don't get a lot of fans flocking to the stadia to watch women's games, and that, women don't have that technical ability that men have. And that is why women do not necessarily deserve to be earning as much money as the men. And I want to even look at tennis, where there was a comment coming from Novak Djokovic a couple of years ago where he said, if women are going to play 3 sets compared to men's 5 sets in a Grand Slam, why should women be getting the same amount of money? How do you then respond to the fact that the women's sport isn't as entertaining and therefore should not be making as much money?
Well, good morning, Marina and Sinalo and all your viewers. I think the environment's changed a lot, Marina, over the past 4 or 5 years. In particular, I think starting from 2017. With the Women's World Cup held at Lords with 28,000 people there. And since then, there's been other cup finals with 86,000 people. Even now with the Ashes in the UK, they sold out venues. So I think the appeal is there. The fan base is growing just for the spectacle itself. And it's becoming actually, the women's game is becoming really a spectacle on itself. It doesn't really have to follow a men's game or be a men's game, which is great for the game. And I think what the ICC have done now is recognise that.
How far has the game come, Karen, since you lifted the World Cup trophy in 1993 compared to Sinalo and the ladies? Obviously, I mean, they didn't lift the trophy, but they made it as close enough to there. How far has the game come in terms of ensuring that the women's game is respected, number one? Secondly, that it is given the necessary support that it deserves, even in terms of financial incentives?
Well, it's huge, Marina. When I played in 93, we largely had to pay for ourselves. We were all in full-time positions, full-time jobs. We had to train. I spoke to somebody the other day, even for the World Cup final, we had to travel on the same bus to Lords to the venue because of finance. And that Women's World Cup in 93 only took place really at the last minute. As a benefactor came in to rescue the day and pay for the event. So moving on, I think 30 years later down the road, the opportunities now are immense. The emergence of the leagues around the world, the recent one of the WBL, the 100, all these opportunities now are there for these women cricketers. And, it's something that is growing daily. And with this now recognition of the pay parity, it can only enhance the growth as well. The parity is also in there for the under-19s too. So it's not just your top level layer, it's for the lower base as well, which is great for development.
Is 9 million rand enough, Sinalo? That's how much you guys managed to bag for being the runners-up, the silver medalists at this year's T20 World Cup. Is it enough? And I asked this question because cricket, and I think I was comparing with my producer, Cyril, a short while ago, just looking at the prize pools for all the sports. You know, you've got Live Golf that's giving a winner $4 million just for winning, you know, that lucrative competition. You've got Wimbledon with a prize pool of £44 million. You know, you've got football then, with the men at least, who... The winner, Argentina, in Qatar last year, walked away with $40 million. And then you're looking at the women's winner now, at least with the new, with this announcement of parity, you're only going to get 18 million rand for winning the T20 World Cup and 9 million rand for being runners-up. Is it enough?
I think with the scope of where Karen did mention it now, like with the growth of where it is, one might say it's not enough, but I think with where it comes from, obviously ICC have made the buy-in of literally increasing it each and every single year. And now coming into equal pay, like now you'll ask me the same question next year, for example, and I will say to you it is enough because we're finally at that point where it's equal. There's no disparity on who's bigger, who's smaller, so you understand. So I think where we're at now, we could say it could have been better, but for now it's what we get and we have to accept it. And yeah, that's just it.
Is the development enough coming from Cricket South Africa? Because, you know, it's all good and well to watch the ladies go all the way and reach a final and come just so close to winning a tournament that many from the get-go were expecting Australia to win it anyway. But do you feel that enough attention is now being put, that the focus is now being put by the CEO, Pulitzer Museki, you know, and the gang at the administration office to ensure that 9 million rand turns into 18 and that, you know, we go forward from then on? Because if you see a South Africa or a West Indies or a Zimbabwe for that matter progressing and becoming better, corporate will want to invest more money, and then we're now talking of a different prize pool of not just 18 million rand but 38 million rand.
You know, Pulitzer actually at the CSA Awards, so he said there will be an announcement in August. So I'm holding him to that. And when it comes to like Cricket South Africa, I think it has to be a development thing. You have to start from grassroots, leading it all the way up. And I mean, with everything, you mentioned it yourself, it comes from sponsors and who's backing. And I think from Cricket South Africa perspective, like us as a team, we've given them something to kind of say, listen to the sponsor, here's the team. And I think for sponsors literally taking that opportunity and chance and actually investing in women's cricket. And I think from there, the gap will bridge even more.
Karen, where has it gotten wrong, though, over the years? And why are we still having this kind of conversation today? Because the only conversation of this nature that we're having in the sport of football is just please pay the women as much as you're paying the men. You know, we're not now talking about please pump more money into your prize pool, because that's also the conversation we're having now, to say that 18 million rand, when you compare it to what, you know, the prize money is for winning a FIFA World Cup, it pales in comparison. But where have they gotten it wrong in terms of attracting corporates, attracting big brands to invest in the sport of cricket so that when you win this World Cup, you see what you're winning? Yes, it's all good and well to win the trophy, have your name written down in history, but you also want to walk away with a good chunk of cash.
Yeah, look, Marina, I guess so, but you know, it's a stepping stone. You know, that amount of money is huge to what it was compared years ago. So it is changing, and along with the pay parity, obviously, greater match fees will come in play as well, which most of the bigger nations, playing nations, have already done. So match fees for women in Test cricket, in any format, the 50 over and the 20 over, largely really get the same as the guys now. So that's also a plus on that side of things. The women's brand has changed immeasurably. I think I've already mentioned Marina, and it really is a product now on its own footing. And I'm sure, you know, with the viewership figures that we had from the recent SA under-19, the World Cup under-19 and the Women's World Cup we just hosted in South Africa, the viewing figures, the attendance figures suggest that it is a product that sponsors can come on board, and it is a product that is sustainable and is just moving forward all the time.
Karen speaks about viewership numbers, attendance numbers, which speaks to fans who are loving the game, not just, you know, a Boxing Day test match in December, which we're excited about that now, especially now that we know the Pink Day is not going to be in February, it's going to be in December. So all the more reason to have a festive December for the men, at least. On the women's side, the viewership numbers did shoot through the roof, which speaks to there were eyes on the game. And a lot of those eyes, South African eyes at least, were on you, Sinalo. And that is why you are the SA Fans Player of the Year. I mean, what does that say to you, at least, about how far your game has come and the appreciation South Africans have for how far your game has come?
You know, when you mentioned that, I remember that first game during the World Cup. We thought that it would be like same as always, literally our families there, our friends there. But walking out against Sri Lanka to a fully packed Newlands, we were like, oh my goodness, it's actually happening. And then like from there, we lost that game. We were like, nope, they're not going to come back. And then they literally came back in numbers. And I still remember that semi-final and final. They had to resell ticket sales because people wanted to come watch. And, you know, to be voted SA Fans Player of the Year, like I literally looked at that pool and I was like, there is no chance I'm going to walk away with this. Because like all those players, like, you know, and to actually walk away with it was more like something like I'm actually doing something right. And I'm just going to be consistent in what I do.
You say you feel that you've now done something right to earn that accolade. What still needs to be done, though, by you to ensure that when you are voted again the Fans Player of the Year, it is happening off the back of winning a World Cup? What do you have to do, and what does the rest of the team have to do for us to be talking, as I title her 1993 World Cup winner, I title you World Cup winner in the next tournament?
You know, with the next World Cup being in Bangladesh next year, the T20 in September, October. And I think for this coming season, from my personal aspect, is just to be disciplined and actually working each and every single day to actually get better. Because with cricket, it's a funny game. You can't be too complacent, but also being very humble and authoritative. Yeah, that's me.
Sinalo, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations for being voted, and I hope to say very soon, congratulations for being a World Cup winner. Truly appreciated the conversation you and I had. And thank you very much as well to Karen Smithies, 1993 World Cup winner with England, of course, just talking to us about the recent announcement coming from ICC on Thursday about how there is going to be gender parity in terms of prize money, that the men are going to win $1 million for winning a World Cup, and so will the women. So we can only but hope that other sporting codes manage to get to the same common ground that the ICC has managed to as well.